I have a motion to adopt the minutes, or adopt the agenda.
So
Moved by Councilor Patrick, second by Councilor McKay. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Adoption of the minutes. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Councilor McKay, second by Councilor Paget. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Now, I just want to mention before I turn it over to Ms. Hadkirk, that if there's we have videotaping today from the audience, and if anybody is concerned or objects to it, please speak now. Otherwise, we'll continue with the meeting. Anybody in the spectators concerned at all? Okay. And you're going to direct it this way, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. I will not keep a speakers list. Ms. Hadkirk will handle everything. And I don't know, she'll probably mention if we can have a break or not, or we have to stay in our seats. And I'll turn it over right away.
A slave driver, no break. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me back. And this has just, from my point of view, just been such an interesting project to work on. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your feedback on the materials that you prepared. I just want to make a few introductory remarks, and then I'm hoping that we'll get right at the substance of the drafts that I've provided. I just want to take a step back and just remind us where we are and why we're doing this work. So this work was generated out of the Watson report, which I understand was generated out of the planning process. My specific responsibilities are to address recommendations 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. And I know Elimina is working on some other recommendations that came out of this report. In simple terms, my work includes developing a document that we call the Council Charter, which describes the role of council, a position description for the mayor's role, a position description for the councillor's role, and the Watson report includes some specific requests about this role, and it also applies to the mayor's position description. And that is to just delineate between the roles of the elected officials and the staff, and to separate and to delineate the roles of the governance role and the management role. To describe the role of staff, to address the issues of conflicts of interest, to describe the standards of conduct in meetings, to somehow lay out a pattern or a protocol for the relations with staff and council, and to discuss preparation and attendance at meetings. Those are the first 3 recommendations. And then recommendation 10 asked for the role descriptions to identify the working relationships and emphasize the constructive relationships amongst the council and staff. And then to recommendation 11, it was asked to create a staff. So I just have 2 slides here. You've seen them before about what the Watson report actually said. This was the recommendation about the role of councillors. All interviewees, when they interviewed all the council, indicate an understanding of the role and responsibilities of individual councillors. But there was a divergence of views on the actual performance and execution of these roles and responsibilities. Specific areas of concern, again, were about the relationships, the role of governance role versus the management role, conflicts of interest, standards of conduct, relationships with staff, and preparation and attendance at meetings. In order for individual councillors to be aware of their responsibilities and to be held accountable for them, it would be helpful to create written position descriptions for individual councillors that provide guidance on the councillor's statutory responsibilities, legal duties associated with the office, and performance expectations as agreed to by council. And this is the term that I've chosen to use in the documents, as you've probably seen, the performance expectations, which we're here to really discuss today and hopefully get some agreement on. With respect to the role of the mayor, the Watson report said, our interviews indicated that while the general responsibilities of the mayor understood, it's not clear to all interviewees how the mayor should carry out all responsibilities. For example, it's not clear to the interviewees how active a role the mayor should be expected to take with respect to managing the vote meetings process for this specific work. It started in January. We had our meeting in February that was consultation with you, and I conducted my research. You'll recall that I took a look at the best practices across the country and reported them out to you and reported the survey results out to you. We had our meeting on February 27th. I've gone away and drafted the documents, and this is where we're at right now, April 16th, to discuss the draft documents. I'm assuming that the documents will be revised and then they'll come back to you for deliberation, decision making. Our meeting objectives in February were to look at the survey results, to look at the leading practices across the country and across BC, to hear from you, get some input, and to gain some, what I really needed was to know kind of where you're at as a council and where the areas of agreement would be and where areas of disagreement would be, and then to discuss the notion of performance expectations and council self-governance. Today's objectives are to get to just go over the documents, and there's a lot of material here. And we have 2 hours. We're not going to go through this line by line, but we'll get some indication from you, again, where the areas of improvement are, get your feedback, and hopefully get some sense of where the majority is set with this respect. I propose to work through the documents one by one. And we've got about 20-25 minutes to deal with each of them. And what I'd like to suggest we do is that we go through them and try to just focus on the areas where there are disagreement. We'll see right away, how well we're going to do and how much material we'll get through this morning. But I'll ask some questions about where are the things that you can generally agree with and where are the things that you really have some difficulty with. So that's my plan. Does that sit well with you? Is there another approach that you would like to take? I just wanted to show you these again, because this is all about role clarity. That's what this is about. And this is George Cuff's quote. The biggest single issue confronting local governments today is that of role clarity. Clearly, this is an issue that's big on his mind. Certainly, for most of us who work in this area, it's a big concern for us. He's also said anyone putting together a sports team or business enterprise understands that clear role definition is absolutely essential to success. Clearly, Watson, the Watson report feels the same way. This is John Nalbandian, who's one of the leading American writers, also a former elected official, former mayor. He says individuals sometimes ignore rules and toxic personalities sometimes create challenges. Difficult personalities on council create a challenging and uncomfortable environment for council itself. In the end, the council must manage its own behavior and seek compliance with its own members. And this is a theme you'll see in my work. It's only you that can be responsible for your behavior. The staff can't, the public can't, it's only council. And this is why I use this term council self-governance, because it's really up to you to manage your own work. I've suggested 2 or 3 steps that I think you need to take in order to really be able to describe and live the role clarity. One is you need to write down the role descriptions. That's what Watson asks us to do. And to really clarify using performance expectations, well, what does this mean? The real details, that you know exactly what's expected of you, that you agree to it, and then that you self-govern, that you actually take responsibility, you're accountable, and you actually govern. I can read it. You'll notice the materials that I've produced, and we can talk about this in some further detail as we go along, but I made reference to steps you can take in terms of disciplining yourselves and managing your own behavior. The first step is to identify breaches in the behavior. So when something goes wrong at a council meeting, when a member of the public is being abusive, or when a council member is behaving inappropriately, that you identify that you intervene. The council table usually through a point of order motion, or you can take your concerns to the mayor and then through to the city manager. And then there's there's the option of council reprimand or sanction. And then, you know, if the behavior of the council table continues, you can remove appointments from individual council members, and you can remove resources, and I've given you some good references and materials to justify and to argue that that's all possible. I mean, those are real extremes, right? And I understand that. So let me just... We're going to deal with the council charter for... Oh, so you have in front of you the council charter. And again, just to remind you, this is to lay out essentially the role of council. I just expect that none of this is new to any of you. You know, this is about putting it down on paper and then seeking majority agreement. I just thought I could hit the highlights of this for you. And what I've done is I just highlighted the document on the screen for you. But Watson, and I agree with Watson's analysis and conclusions, the role of council is a governance role. That's your role. And it's not a role of management. It's not a role of implementation. It's a role of governance. And what that means, in a more detailed way, is in its governance role, council is responsible for setting the strategic direction for the corporation, allocating resources, managing risks, and then oversight of the corporation, and then reporting out to its members. So you'll notice that I have used that structure, these four headings, you know, strategic decision-making direction, allocating resources, managing risk, and oversight and reporting to be the structure for the documents that I've created. So maybe I should just ask you on this point, is there any concern, discomfort about that, any disagreement that that is your role as a body, as a governance body? Yes?
What do you, there's this line, this constant statement being made about management. How do you define that?
Well, Watson defined it as the process of planning, organizing, directing, controlling organizational resources in the pursuit of the organizational goals. And that's distinct from the governance role, which is a set of responsibilities and practices, policies, and procedures used to provide strategic direction, ensure objectives are achieved, managing risk, and using resources responsibly. So they are defined as two separate areas of responsibility.
So this is perfect world stuff.
This is real world stuff.
Well, this is perfect world stuff because, you know, at a recent conference at LGLA, one of the things that George Cuff talked about at length was the ability for you to be able to consistently trust what you're being told.
Yes.
And if you have to go, if you get a report and you have to go behind that report to find out answers for yourself, you've got a problem. And yet you're being accused of micromanaging.
Now, no, I agree completely. If you don't trust the information you're receiving, then you need to have a process that you can use as a council to overcome that problem. I agree completely.
Allison, then you can go to the city manager. If you don't trust the information you're getting from me, then you should get a city manager that you trust the information. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the extreme. But let's say you're at a council meeting and you receive, or before a council meeting on your agenda, you have a report, and you really believe in your heart that this information is erroneous, either intentionally or unintentionally. So what's your process for dealing with that? So I do address this and in the documents, and in the real world, the process then is to go to the mayor, have a discussion with the mayor, and either the three of you or however many of you would meet with the city manager and you'd have a discussion about that. And if you're not satisfied with the responses you get, then it needs to come to the council table. And if it really is a personnel matter, then it needs to come probably to an in-camera meeting. and you would have a discussion as a group, not as an individual, but as a group, and you would wrestle that to the ground. You know, it happens. It does happen. I get that. But you have to have a process to deal with that, and having individual counselors going around and meeting with staff in a back alley is just not the most constructive way to deal with what might be a very real problem.
But I think also, Allison, if a counselor is going behind the scenes and meeting with a development company or something to verify stuff that you don't believe staff is providing you is correct, is also a governance issue.
Yeah, you know, really one of the very important principles here is that your work is a work as a member of a group. You have some individual responsibilities and accountabilities that are articulated here as, you know, as an individual elected official, individual representative of the public, but your work for the corporation of the city of Nanaimo really needs to be done as a group. And that is the most constructive way to do it. And you know, myself, I've been involved in challenges with constituents, with staff members. I've been involved in hirings and firings. I know the real world. And they, you know, problems like this do happen, but you need to deal with them as a group.
I just wanted to clarify that I'm not suggesting that those concerns are not they're exclusive. 7 of the 9 of us sit on the regional district board, so the same thing applies there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the goal here to deal with these kinds of challenges would be to find a process that you as a group can use to address those kinds of concerns. And at the end, you're right. If you know, this is a persistent problem that you don't trust the information you're receiving, you probably at the end of the day have a problem with your city manager.
Excellent. And you know, this puts, I find it puts myself, I find I'm in a difficult situation then too when I have counselors doing that and finding out information that I don't know, and then question staff, maybe a council or wherever, and I don't know it. And I'm trying to, I guess I don't want to say this the way I'm saying it, I'm going to say it. I play by the rules, and then I'm blindsided. So now I'm looking at the city manager going, well, so, and some councilors say, well, the other thing is true. And it may be insignificant, it may not be. But then I'm in a quandary. So what do? Who do I believe? And then the whole thing gets all blown out of proportion. But I don't think that should happen.
And you see, this is why the mayor has a very special role in this particular area. Because if you have concern with the behavior or the conduct of an individual staff member, or with something like the information you're receiving from a staff member, really that needs to be communicated to the mayor. Because the mayor is the nexus between the council body and the staff body. And it will really be up to the mayor to stick handle that and to decide when all of council needs to be involved. I mean, if for example, let's take an example, I mean, this is not my experience in Nanaimo, but let's say that there's an inkling of some kind of corruption, some kind of embezzlement, and one of you, for some reason, becomes aware of it. A constituent comes to you, a member of staff comes to you. Well, okay, so how do you deal with that? And in fact, you know, I got to tell you, I was involved in this. It needs to go to the mayor. And the mayor needs to make some judgment about how that should be best handled. And assuming that it's not involving the city manager, presumably the mayor would meet with the city manager right away. And then at some probably, if there really appears to be some substance to the problem, I would assume the mayor would gather council right away and inform them, this is where we're at, this is the information we have, this is information we think we don't have, and these are the steps we're taking. But you need to have the mayor involved because the mayor is responsible to all of you and is the connection with the staff. So, Mayor, would you disagree with that?
No, I agree, but I had comments.
Yes, please.
And I was gonna say, you know, one of the issues that I find challenging, and this is just as a member of council, maybe not as much as the mayor, that one problem that we have, that I see with this council, this particular council, is that a lot of times there is the inability of a few members to let go of an item once it's been decided. It's been debated at length, we have a decision made, and I'll give you an example. We had an issue where there was some suspicion about whether we were getting good value for items purchased, ID and that sort of thing. And so we had meeting after meeting, we discussed it at length. I think most of council, majority of council unquestionably supported it and felt that we were doing it. We had ad nauseum, all kinds of staff reports on how they were going about it, what they were trying to accomplish. But there were still people who wouldn't accept it. And so what they would do then is they had contacts, they'd go out and talk to them, and then they'd come back with a new issue and say, well, what about that happened on February 4th? We understand there's a purchase order of that. And this went back and forth. So finally the city was I guess, really coerced into spending a great deal of money doing a review. And we spent a lot of hard-earned taxpayers' dollars doing a review of this thing, and the review came back, is an independent third-party review, that the procedure, the purchasing procedure was correct. There were no abnormalities in the policy. So, but I don't think that the people that are pushing this still haven't given up. So it's still there, and you know, at some point, it doesn't affect council. It wastes a huge amount of staff time, and it does breed a certain amount of suspicion about senior staff, which I think is unfortunate and untrue. How do you stop that?
Well, I think, and I'll get right to you, but just let me respond to that, that this is where the council has to manage itself, right? Like, the decision to do the review was no doubt a decision of council, right?
Yes.
And if they're satisfied with the review, then council as a whole needs to put it to bed and not devote any more resources to it, either time or money, and attempt to move forward. You probably can't, well, you really probably can't get in the way of people continuing to raise the issue. That's going to happen. But in terms of allocating resources, staff time or money to it, council should have control over that, and has all the authority to have control. That's what
I agree with what Renee just said, but I want to just go back to what you've been talking about before. I'm sort of getting the feeling that I've been doing my job wrong for almost 6 years now. And I hope you're not telling me that I cannot go and check and verify outside the staff if I feel the need for that.
like to members of the public or to
Whatever.
business community?
But
No, I would expect that you would go and have conversations.
whatever, so because I do want to have those conversations, because they've been helpful. Because I can see the way I'm reading you is that if I get my package on a Thursday, and I get to it on Friday or Saturday morning, and there's something that I'm in doubt of, and the staff ring